I am Reed, I am 27, just an average dude. I've made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. So let me start with something real. I see all these videos online about people hitting 100 grand by the time they reach 22, working some tech job, making 150K a year, and I just sit there thinking, man, that is not my story at all, not even close. I am 27 years old right now, and my net worth sits just over $56,000. No six-figure salary ever, no inheritance, no rich parents co-signing anything, no trust fund, no financial advisor in the family, nothing like that. Literally nothing. I grew up in a regular household where we watched every dollar, and my parents worked hard, but they didn't have extra to hand me. So whatever I've built so far, it came from me working for it, making mistakes, and then figuring out what actually works. And I want to be super upfront about this. 56K at 27 is not some crazy impressive number. I know people who are 23 and have way more. I also know people who are 35 and have way less. This is not a flex. This is just a milestone for me, a checkpoint proof that a regular guy with a regular job can stack money over time if he stops being an idiot about it. And I was an idiot. Oh man, I was such an idiot with money for years, so let me break down everything where my money actually is right now. How I got here, the stupid mistakes I made along the way that cost me thousands, and what I am doing next to keep growing even though I am not making crazy money right now. First, let me define net worth real quick because I think a lot of people get this wrong or they get scared of the term. Net worth is literally just what you own, minus what you owe. That is it. It is not how much you make. It is not how cool your car is. It is what is actually yours after you pay off all your debts. So for me, I add up all my assets, cash in the bank, money in my retirement accounts, any investments, any savings, and then I subtract everything I owe, credit card debt, auto loans, student loans, any kind of debt, whatever S left is your net worth. Some people hear that number and they feel shame if it is low or they get anxious. But honestly, it is just a tool. It tells you where you are at so you can figure out where you are going. So here is my current breakdown as of right now. I've got about 30 grand sitting in a high-yield savings account. That is my emergency fund plus money. I am setting aside for short-term goals like maybe a house down payment or a buffer if life throws something at me. I've got about 6,000 in my Roth IRA. I only started that last year and I am trying to max it out every year. The limit right now is 7,000 annually for people under 50. I am a little behind on that this year, only about 2,400 in so far, and we already a few months in, but I am grinding on it. I've got about 25,000 in my 401k for my previous jobs. Then I subtract about 15,000 for my auto loan. I have zero credit card debt. And I keep about 10,000 in my checking account and a separate savings bucket for irregular expenses. So if you add all that up and subtract the debt, it comes out to roughly 56,000. That is my number. That is where I am at 27. Now people ask me all the time how I got here and they expect some complicated story about options trading or a lucky crypto bet or some side hustle that blew up overnight. None of that. The truth is boring. The truth is I just saved my money consistently for years. And when I say consistently, I mean I made it automatic. I didn't trust myself to remember to save. I set up auto transfers, so the money left my account the same day my paycheck hit. I never saw it, I never touched it, I never gave myself the chance to spend it. And that one habit alone is the reason I have anything today. When I was 18, I worked a full-time job making about 18 bucks an hour. Nothing special. Minimum wage plus a little extra, but I could work overtime and I worked a lot of it. I was young, I had energy, I didn't know what burnout was yet, so I was taking home about 800 bucks a week. Now as an 18-year-old kid living at home, I didn't have a mortgage, I didn't have kids, I didn't have a fancy lifestyle. I could live off about 200 bucks a week. Maybe less. So I saved 600 bucks every single week. Every week for almost 4 years straight. That is about 2,400 a month going straight into savings. Do the math on that. Over 4 years, that is well over 100 grand in total savings. Now I didn't keep all of that because life happens and I made mistakes and I spent some of it. But that consistent saving created a foundation that I could build on later. And that is the part people skip. They want the shortcut, they want the hack, they want to invest 500 bucks and turn it into 50K in 6 months. That is not how it works for regular people. For regular people, it is about stacking small wins over and over until one day you look up and you realize you've got real money. But I am not going to sit here and act like I had it all figured out because I didn't. Oh man, I made some really expensive mistakes. And I think this is where a lot of you might relate because the mistakes I made were driven by ego, not by logic. So let me tell you about my car problem. I love cars, always have. And for a long time, I treated cars like they were part of my identity. I thought the car you drive says something about who you are. And that thinking cost me thousands of dollars. I had a Subaru WRX that I fully built out. I put money into that thing, like it was a retirement account, new turbo, new exhaust, suspension, wheels, tuning, all of it. And when I sold it, I lost about 10 grand on it. Then I bought a BMW and did the same thing. Built it up, modified everything, made it look and sound incredible, sold it, and lost about 15 grand. So just like that, I was down $25,000 on 2 cars, money I could have invested, money I could have saved, money that could be sitting in my Roth IRA right now, compounding gone, because I wanted to look cool in a parking lot, and then I made it worse. I thought, you know what? Let me buy a Tesla. That is a smart financial move, right? Electric car, low maintenance, no gas. Maybe I LL save money in the long run, so I bought one and I lost money on that too. Because cars are not investments, they are depreciating assets, every single one of them. Unless you are buying a rare collector car and storing it in a climate-controlled garage for 30 years. But for normal people like us, the second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses value, and if you start modifying it, you are just speeding up that loss. So after all that loss, I finally ate my ego, I sold the Tesla, I went out, and I bought a little Jeep. Nothing fancy, it is reliable. It gets me from point A to point B, and it has the cheapest monthly payment I have had since I was 18 years old. I love that Jeep, not because it is impressive, but because it lets me keep my money. And that is the real flex. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Your 20s are not about looking rich, they are about building the foundation to actually be rich later. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but it is true. When I was blowing money on cars and eating out every day and buying clothes I didn't need, I was confusing spending with living. I thought if I had nice things, I was successful, but real success is having options. Real success is being able to walk away from a job you hate because you've got savings. Real success is sleeping well at night because you know your bills are covered. That 56K net worth gives me options. Right now, I am working part-time. I am not making great money, but I can breathe because I've got a cushion. I am not living paycheck to paycheck. I am not stressed about an unexpected repair or a medical bill. That peace of mind is worth more than any modified BMW I ever owned. And here's the thing I want to really drill into you. You don't have to be perfect with money. You don't have to save 80% of your paycheck like I did at 18. That was my situation because I lived at home and had low expenses. That might not be your situation, and that is totally fine. The goal is not to be extreme. The goal is to be consistent. If you can save 10% of your income consistently for 10 years, you will be in a better position than 90% of people. If you can save 20%, you will be ahead of almost everyone you know. It is not about the percentage. It is about the habit. It is about making it automatic so you don't have to think about it. So you don't have to rely on willpower because willpower runs out, but automated systems keep running. One thing I did that changed everything was I built a budget that actually worked for my life. I didn't copy some influencer's budget off TikTok. I didn't use some generic template that assumes I spend $200 a month on coffee. I sat down with my own bank statements and I looked at where my money was actually going, not where I thought it was going, where it was actually going. And that was uncomfortable at first because you see things you don't want to see. You see the $12 here and $8 there and $30 on takeout, and it adds up to hundreds every month without you even noticing. But once I saw the truth, I could make a plan. I realized I don't drink. I don't party much. I don't have expensive hobbies besides cars, which I already fixed, so I could live on a pretty low weekly amount and save the rest. But your numbers might be different. Maybe you love going out with friends. Maybe travel is your thing. Maybe you have a hobby that costs money. That is fine. Just build your budget around that reality. Give yourself permission to spend on the things you actually care about and cut ruthlessly on the things you don't. Now, let me talk about investing because I get this question a lot. People ask me, when did you start investing and what do you invest in? Truth is, I only started investing seriously about 2 years ago. That is late compared to some people. I kept most of my money in cash for years. And honestly, I regret that a little bit. I missed out on some market growth because I was scared and I didn't understand investing. But I also don't beat myself up about it because I was still learning. The important thing is I started. Better to start at 25 than at 35 or 45 or never. Right now, I keep it simple. I put money into my 401k up to the employer match if there is one free money. Always take the free money, then I work on maxing out my Roth IRA because that money grows tax-free and you can withdraw your contributions anytime without penalty. And then anything extra I keep in my high-yield savings or I put into a taxable brokerage account with low-cost index funds. I am not picking individual stocks. I am not trading options. I am not trying to get rich on the next big thing. I am boring on purpose, and boring wins the race. Let me break down my goals real quick so you can see what I am working toward. By the time I turn 28, I want my net worth to hit 100,000. That is 3 years from now. To get there, I need to add about 44K plus whatever growth happens in my investments. That is roughly 15K a year in new savings, which is about 1,250 a month. That is very achievable even on a modest income if I stay disciplined. My second goal is to max out my Roth IRA every single year. That is 7,000 a year. My third goal is to minimize lifestyle inflation. As I make more money, I want to resist the urge to spend more. That is the trap. You get a raise and suddenly you deserve a nicer car or a bigger apartment or a fancier vacation. And before you know it, you are making more than ever but saving less than ever. I refuse to fall into that cycle. I want my savings rate to go up as my income goes up, not down. And look, I know not everybody is going to have the same path as me. Some of you are dealing with student loans. Some of you are paying rent in expensive cities. Some of you have kids to support. I get it. Your situation is different, but the core principles are the same for everyone. Spend less than you earn, automate your savings. Invest consistently, avoid debt that doesn't serve you, and be patient. Time is the one thing you can buy more of, and it is also the most powerful tool in building wealth. The earlier you start, the less effort you have to put in later, because compound interest does the heavy lifting. If you save $500 a month starting at 25 and earn 7% average returns, you'll have over 500K. By the time you are 60, if you wait until 35 to start, you need to save almost double that. To get the same result, that is the power of starting early. I also want to talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough in the personal finance space, and that is the emotional side of money. Your relationship with money is shaped by how you grew up. If you grew up with scarcity, you might hoard money and feel anxious spending any of it. If you grew up with abundance, you might overspend because you never learned the value of a dollar. Neither extreme is healthy. I had to unlearn a lot of dumb ideas I picked up about money. I had to stop seeing money as a scoreboard. I had to stop comparing myself to friends who had different circumstances. I had to accept that my journey is my journey, and that is so freeing once you actually internalize it. You stop chasing what other people have and start focusing on what you need, and what you need is security, not status, freedom, not flash. So here's my challenge to you if you made it this far. Open a note on your phone or grab a piece of paper and write down your net worth right now. Today, even if it is negative, especially if it is negative, because you need a starting point, then set a goal. Where do you want to be in 1 year, in 5 years? In 10 years. Then figure out the monthly savings number you need to get there, and then set up one automatic transfer from your checking account to your savings account this week. Not next week, this week, one transfer, even if it is only 20 bucks. The habit matters more than the amount. You can increase it later, but you have to start. I am not trying to get rich overnight. I am not trying to impress people. I don't know. I am just trying to build a life where I have choices, where I am not trapped by debt, where I can take risks and pursue things that matter to me because I have a financial foundation underneath me. And I believe you can do it too. Whether you are 18 or 22 or 28 or 35, it is not too late. It is never too late. You just have to start. You just have to be consistent, and you have to give yourself grace when you mess up, because you will mess up. I did many times. I lost 25K on stupid car decisions. I wasted years not investing. I had debt I shouldn't have had, but I kept going. And that is literally the only difference between where I was at 20 and where I am now at 27. I kept going. Peace.